If you doom scroll a lot, chances are you've probably seen a post or two about the brand new My Little Pony Greatest Hits vinyl. And my first impression after seeing that was, considering they've already slapped this exact design on a shirt, it's literally the exact same thing, meaning they couldn't even give us new artwork for something where the whole premise is reusing songs that already exist. I wasn't left with the highest hopes in existence. But, of course, why would I want this product to be bad? Yeah, sure, if it is bad, then it does make for a more interesting video for me to talk about. But at the end of the day, I like My Little Pony, and I want whatever new G4 retreads they do to be good and be respectful of the source material. Because if they don't do that, and they don't respect the legacy that it's built up, it's pretty obvious that what we're looking at is a cash grab. So I went ahead and actually spent money and bought this thing, hoping that it wouldn't suck, but upon closer inspection, it really does suck. But hey, let's back up a bit from the beginning and take this from the top together. First of all, there's not a whole lot to mention about the front of this package aside from what we've already touched on with it not even being new artwork. You know what? Never mind. Scratch that. Let's actually talk about this. This is a greatest hits album for a show that hasn't been on the air for, what, 6 to 7 years now? That really isn't normal, and not a whole lot of shows get the privilege of having such a dedicated fan base where you can put out a greatest hits album when there hasn't even been new episodes for 6 years. Meaning, this is supposed to be like a celebration of the show, right? And it better show some gratitude for us sticking around. Yet the biggest thing we see on this thing is a design that they've already slapped on a t-shirt earlier the same year. If it instead reused, I don't know, a throwback image, you know, like this classic, this would have still been nostalgia bait, but at least that would have given us something to work with. This just looks very generic and lazy, and not a whole lot of thought was put into it. And I guess what upsets me more about this is how, while I personally don't interact with these people at all, but I know one of the biggest things that's keeping this fandom alive since the show has ended are 100% due to fan art communities online. So I'm pretty sure if Hasbro just came out with a contest to design a cover art for this thing, people would have definitely flocked to it. And I'm sure we would have ended up with an amazing piece of artwork and not this. And even that aside, I'm sure there's artists on Hasbro's actual team who would have been ecstatic to be tasked with anything G4 related. But no, this is what we get. My point is that I don't really see a whole lot of generous leeway I can give a record like this for reusing artwork that they've already used. Especially for what's supposed to be a greatest hits thing. Man, now the back of the package ain't much better either. Because first of all, they didn't even capitalize my in this title. Wow, that's disgusting. Especially when they capitalized is, which is grammatically correct. But if you had a theoretical capitalization budget, you'd be an idiot to spend it on is rather than my, especially when the official upload of the song does it that way. But hey, at least they capitalized the when they're not supposed to, except for here where they didn't. It's not the errors that pain me. Mistakes happen. We're all but human. It's the arbitrariness that pains me. If this mistake was made for all the songs with the in the middle, I really wouldn't care. But it's the fact that they made this particular mistake in one spot, but they didn't in every other spot. At least be consistent with it. But hey, this is coming from an English major, so maybe this wouldn't bother the average person. But what should bother the average person is how Jit didn't even get the singer names right. Andrea Lemon doesn't do Pinky's singing voice. Shannon Chan Kent does, but her name is nowhere to be found on this thing. And Tara Strong doesn't do Twilight Sparkle's singing voice. Rebecca Shoich... Okay, apparently her name is pronounced Shoyket, not Shoychet, like I've been saying all video where I've met her, which is, you know, slightly embarrassing. Whoops. But still, bruh, it's one thing to get capitalization of the titles a little wonky. In fact, we have this precedent of Wikipedia editors getting into a 40,000 word plus debate about whether to capitalize the word into in a title or not. 40,000 words. For reference, this video I just uploaded last week, that's sitting at 1 hour and 47 minutes, is not even 17,000 words. So that probably gives you a bit of an idea of how long a conversation of 40,000 words is. In other words, this gives you a taste of how talking about capitalizations can easily fluctuate into subjectivity. So I'll leave that slightly alone, even if it does look disgusting. But I say all that to frame this discussion about the singer names here. There's no subjectivity on that. That's wrong. It's wrong factually and ethically. Can't we credit the right people? Yes, there is some spoken lines throughout some of these songs where the actual voice actors did voice those parts, but obviously that's not what this is talking about. Otherwise, it would have specified, hey, this is the character voice, singing voice is done by blah, 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 which it doesn't. Where's Applejack's hat? Anywho, this might sound like nitpicking, but I really don't care at this point. I don't like how this track listing says extended version. That really doesn't need to be there, and it just messes up the line spacing between these sides. Either that or they could have easily split this title into 2 lines. Man, but on that note, you're probably wondering about the actual contents of the vinyl. And if aside from everything wrong I mentioned, is the song selection at least good? Does it have anything new and unique to offer? Perhaps a new experience to experience these songs? Well, so side A, the first track, the theme song, perfect. It was smart to start this whole thing with the theme song. It's easily the most recognizable tune out of the entire franchise. Even non-fans know the general My Little Pony part. So objectively, yes, this song, the theme song, does belong on a greatest hits album. Also, this song really wouldn't belong anywhere besides the first track, so zero complaints there. Track 2, Unleash the Magic, that's where my complaints start. I'm not going to comment about the song's inclusion in the album or anything like that, because while the song's not one of my favorites, I know it has a lot of fans. But what I will comment on is that the transition between the upbeat and welcoming first track of the theme song to the second track, which is a big, epic, orchestral villain song played at the height of the movie's rising action, it's jarring.
I realize that you've always been an outcast.
This genuinely felt like hitting shuffle on a regular My Little Pony playlist, which is a problem, but we'll come back to that later. Now, unlike the transition from the first to the second track, transition from the second track to the third track, Open Up Your Eyes from the 2017 movie, was actually really good. It blended seamlessly. But it's still interesting to have two villain songs in a row, especially for the beginning of the record, right after the theme song. Once again, the fourth song, Apples to the Core, also kind of comes out of nowhere, right after a big epic orchestral villain song. We genuinely went from Tempest talking about how she's depressed and wants to take over everything, straight to the Apples talking about what it means to be family. Like, really? Can we put a little bit more thought into the track listing order? Then we get the Smile song after that. Great. I don't know why they'd front row the record with two big orchestral villain songs about taking over the world and to proceed to whiplash us with two smaller, wholesome, no-stakes songs. Also, I know this might be a subjective, but track 5, the Smile song, is actually a first track since the theme song that I agree with being on a greatest hits album. Oh. Not to say the others were bad, besides Apples to the Core, that was just filler. But, you know, some of these songs had more fandom impact and staying power than others, you know? And those are probably the factors you want to factor for a greatest hits album. Then we get Time to Be Awesome from the movie, which is a neat inclusion, and embarrassingly enough, it gave me goosebumps while listening to it here, man. But I think you could have honestly replaced it with a very similar Awesome As I Wanna Be, because as we'll soon see, there are 0 tracks from Rainbow Rocks on this entire thing. But to retread a little about what I said about the Smile song, we then get Bab's Seed, which was a good inclusion. I know I might be sounding biased for favoring older songs being on this thing, but yeah, if this is a vinyl record, that tells me that this is aimed for, what, older people, an older audience with collector money, and not for younger casuals, aka people who probably grew up with the older episodes and would thus find songs from older episodes to be greatest hits material. I'm saying this product, like all products, should know their audience. And is this knowing its audience right now? I don't know, we'll find out. For now, I'll say that A True True Friend is a good closer to side A. It's a main 6 song about exploring what it means to be a real friend, and also comes from an incredibly pivotal episode, so that's a pretty good song to leave this first half of the record on. And at this point of listening to the record, I thought, maybe, just maybe, this record was about to get better. And then I flipped the vinyl over to side B to see that the very next song is What My Cutie Mark Is Telling Me. Who the fuck puts that song after A True True Friend? Did we watch the episode in reverse? This is completely ignoring the fact that they just wasted a precious spot on a greatest hits album that's supposed to be representative of all 9 seasons and all 5 movies on 2 songs from the same episode. This already kind of put me over the edge, but then we get the next song, The spectacle. I thought the entire point of that song was to make fun of those corporate, overproduced pop songs with no heart. With Countess Coloratura wanting to actually make those heartfelt, soft songs. To blindly put the spectacle on a greatest hits album is literally doing the thing that the episode said not to do. The episode wasn't glorifying music like that. The episode was basically saying that music like the spectacle are the type of song to be blindly put into a greatest hits album without any thought being put into its deeper meaning for a quick buck. Which is exactly what they did here. How did they not see the irony? That should probably show you how much of a quick cash grab this is, but we've still got many songs left to go. With the next song, Raise This Barn, I was thinking, enough Applejack. Couldn't we give this spot to a rarity song or a Fluttershy song? Granted, there aren't a huge selection of Fluttershy songs to choose from, but how about, I don't know, Becoming Popular, Art of the Dress, you know, hey, an awesome song, 20% cooler, you know, stuff that a greatest hits should probably embrace. I get Raise This Barn, at least has the racist barn meme going for it, to the point where the writers of the show were aware of it.
Have you heard the way that people have been mishearing Applejack's recent song?
Racist Barn? Yeah.
Racist Barn?
But even then, shouldn't we try to give the entire cast time to shine on a greatest hits record? Then we get Legend of Everfree. I like this song. I really do. It's just, it doesn't really belong on a greatest hits, especially at this point in the track list. It's a very good opening song, so putting it anywhere other than close to the opening just feels kind of dumb and weak. If anything, it actually kind of takes away from the impact of the song itself, because the song itself is an introductory song saying, hey, what is this journey we're about to be going on going to entail? What's it going to make of us? Come on and find out. That's the whole point of the song, but putting it freaking track 4 on side B, so track 12 out of 16, that completely destroys the impact of the song. Next, we got This Day Aria. I'm not gonna lie, the song's never resonated with me personally, but I know it has with a lot of people, so I'd say it's a pretty good inclusion overall, especially if I said I'm going to be favoring older songs. I think by any reasonable metric, the song does belong on this album. So, after that, there's Akadeka. At least out of the Equestria Girl stuff, this song belongs on this thing. It's a great song that encapsulates the actual friendship games part in friendship games very well. In other words, it's a heart of a major My Little Pony movie, so yeah, it does belong on the track list. Although I don't really know what to think of the fact that with Unleash the Magic, there was already a song from that movie earlier on in the record, and they could have given one of these spots to a song from the first or second Equestria Girls movie, since, yeah, the first Equestria Girls movie doesn't get a single song on this album either. But hey, at least Akadeka being on this thing does give us a Sunset Shimmer appearance on this album, so a silver lining, I guess. Then, as possibly the most puzzling inclusion on this record is, we get the Laughter song. I wouldn't call that a greatest hit at all, but it is the first song we hear in the show besides the theme song, so sure, I guess. And finally, Together, we got this together. The stupid thing is my vinyl skips here.
It's time to show 'em what you've got. It's time to go. But you don't.
On a rarity part, so not only does this whole thing not have a single rarity solo, her verse in a group song also gets skipped. Wow. Good finish, I guess. Obviously, I didn't have much positive things to say about this, and that's not really gonna change going forward. When I first saw this track list, I thought, okay, what metric did they use to measure what counts as a greatest hit or not? Because the only way they could really make this accurate is to do those bracket voting things on social media and make sure to put every song up on that thing, or pull from the most streamed ones online. But there was no vote to my knowledge, and if there was, I should have had the final say about the songs on it. And also, clearly, it's not like they included most streamed songs on here or anything. So the next thought I had was, surely all these songs will flow together, right? Surely these random freaking songs that they blindly threw darts at and picked from were at least manually sorted in order afterwards to give us a seamless listening experience, right? Well, like I said, some song transitions were jarring and others' placements were just nonsense. So, explain, what part of this is greatest hits? I challenge you, just make this exact track list in a playlist and listen to it in one sitting in this order and judge the flow yourself. It's like someone literally just went on My Little Pony Spotify profile, hit shuffle, and selected the first 16 songs and slapped it on this thing. Or, I don't know, ask ChatGPT to put this together. Hey, ChatGPT, could you name 16 random My Little Pony songs? There's no way an actual human being manually sat down and made sure this thing was of quality. I bet they just went, people who buy vinyl records don't actually own players anyway, so we don't have to put any actual effort into its quality. Dude, like, the thing is, if it was too difficult for them to calculate what constitutes a greatest hit, they could have at least made the songs based on themes like friendship or main six or working together. I don't know, something that speaks to the heart of the show. Not this stylistically different song here and then a completely other stylistically different song right after it. Seriously. No cafeteria song? No winter wrap-up? You know, the first proper song of the show? Or not a single Rainbow Rock song? Really? No songs from the movie actually about the music? Or actually about writing the greatest hit? Hello? Okay, originally, I wrote a whole section here about how, given creative control, how I would fix this and make it not literal garbage. But I'll try to keep this short. So, there would have been really easy ways to make this work. For example, they could have made side A a bunch of hero songs and side B a bunch of villain songs, or made side A pony songs and made side B Equestria Girl songs. That way, even if the song transitions are jarring or abrupt or stylistically and genre different, at least it gives us some order and reason for this to exist. I'm not even angry, I'm just sad because this is obviously a cash grab because they see that G4 is still successful online and they probably regret every day that they ever canceled the show because no one cares about G5. Okay, genuinely no one cares about G5. And the only people who care about G5 are the people who are too late to enjoy G4. Okay, I'll just put it bluntly. So Hasbro's being tsundere about it and rolling out merch about G4 because they know they can't just bring back G4. But the thing is, if there are people still enjoying G4 to the point where they can kind of lean on it like this, you would think that they'd at least be appreciative of us. But let me break it down like this, right? So when we have vinyls, when we have vinyl records, for like this, for example, this isn't as perverted as it looks. I promise. I know it looks kind of. I know it looks perverted. It's just a normal pop punk record, right? There's nothing too weird about it. So this, for example, the thing literally folds out, has acknowledgements and credits, and in here, along with the actual record itself, there's a friggin' lyric sheet. There's a lyric sheet of all the songs. But what does this have? Absolutely nothing except for the record. You're telling me that they couldn't be bothered to give us... The lyric page is one thing, but it kind of ties back to what I said earlier here. This is a greatest hits album for a show that hasn't been on the air for, what, 6 to 7 years now? That really isn't normal, and not a whole lot of shows get the privilege of having such a dedicated fan base where it can put out a greatest hits album when there hasn't even been new episodes for 6 years. Meaning, this is supposed to be like a celebration of the show, right? And it better show some gratitude for us sticking around. If we stuck around for years... I would have appreciated a sheet that said, thank you. You know, I don't care who it would have been by. I don't care if it was from a writer of the show, a director, or, I don't know, the guy who composed all these songs, Daniel Ingram, or someone who just works at Hasbro. If there was a sheet in here that said, thank you for being such a dedicated fan of My Little Pony that you would go out of your way to buy a greatest hits album years after the show is concluded. We look forward to bringing you great entertainment in years to come. We hope you will stick around. Really? Like, that's all they had to write? And they didn't even have to be genuine about it? I would have appreciated the gesture. But no, this is literally just, here, listen to this slop that we pulled together. Barely. This just seems like a betrayal. Nothing about this is greatest hits. Nothing about this is friendship. Nothing about this is magic. Unless you want to argue that it's the magic of reusing artwork. To bring up a very similar piece of soundtrack stuff that I own, I have this. It's a good movie. And this CD contains literally a booklet of a bunch of pictures and lyrics and stuff, you know? Telling you what character is singing what part and stuff. I think something like that would have gone really hard for this. You could have literally color-coded the lyrics to the main six or whoever's singing, etc., etc. Am I saying a thank you letter or lyric sheet would have solved this entire thing? Would it have fixed this and would it have made it a good experience? Objectively, no, because the only thing we can really objectively measure this by is the song selection and the way they flow and stuff. But ultimately, this is what? This is nostalgia bait. You're not gonna get this if you have no emotional attachment to the characters or the show or the songs, if it's come out years after the show's ended.
Therefore, I guess what I'm really trying to say is the solution into making this a good piece would have been an emotional one instead of a logical one. And that's saying a lot coming from me.
But no, this is both an objective and subjective betrayal of all my senses. So, no, I'm not too happy about this. It's going straight to the trash. In conclusion, I don't know. I'm just upset. I can't believe we fell this hard. I'm sorry this wasn't a very fun, lighthearted video. This is how we're ending the year off, I guess. But hey, I started this channel talking about bad merch, and seems like we're ending the year off on the same thing. So with that note, thanks for sticking around this year. I'll see you guys in 2026. Follow me on Instagram, subscribe to my second channel, and until next time, this has been EffMinus signing out.